there was a prisoner in Chicago, a Chicago gangster. His name is Larry Hoover. He has been in jail for years. And believe it or not, Donald Trump just decided to commute his sentence. Now, this is a big story that a lot of people are talking about. People have mixed opinions about it. Some people feel like he should not be released. Others say that he served, his time, enough time. He's like 74 years old. Let him go. What do you think about this? Let's get into this story. Again, Donald Trump commutes the sentence of Chicago gangster Larry Hoover.
The former lead prosecutor in Larry Hoover's federal case reacting this afternoon with disappointment, telling us there are just some offenders and crimes that are not deserving of clemency, and Hoover falls in that category. But this afternoon, President Trump disagreeing, commuting Hoover's 6 life sentences on federal convictions to time served. Hoover still faces, however, a 200-year state sentence on a 1973 murder conviction, so it appears he won't be getting out of prison, at least in the near term. It was while behind bars serving time for that murder that federal prosecutors say he continued overseeing the Chicago Gangster Disciples, a gang that he co-founded. And in 1997, he was convicted of running a criminal enterprise. But Hoover's attorney says over the years, Hoover has been rehabilitated and written numerous letters talking about his experience, how he turned to crime, and the good he can do in steering young people away from a similar fate.
He is being held because he is a symbol, not because he needs further incarceration or he hasn't been rehabilitated. He's been a model prisoner for many, many years. He's been examined. He has been determined to be no risk.
If Larry Hoover said there was going to be a killing, there was a killing. If Larry Hoover said there was going to be a beating, there was a beating. If Larry Hoover said there was going to be a drug deal, there was a drug deal.
Hoover's case has drawn the attention of a number of advocates and public figures, including Chance the Rapper and Kanye West. Hoover is currently serving time in Colorado, but with that state sentence, he'll likely be moved at some point to a prison in Illinois.
So let's talk about this for just a second. So number one, he's not fully pardoned. So Donald Trump commuted his federal sentence, but he did not commute. The president can't pardon like the state charges, right? So only the governor can do that. So that will put the ball in the governor's court. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's look at a little bit about what Larry Hoover did, because I know people are asking about this. Yes, I'm using Wikipedia. Don't make fun of me. Okay. So Larry Hoover is serving 6 life sentences at ADX Florence Prison Facility in Colorado. He was previously sentenced to 150 to 200 years for a 1973 murder. However, in 1997, following a 17-year investigation, he was convicted of conspiracy, extortion, money laundering, and running a continuing criminal enterprise from state prison and received another life term. He has made multiple attempts to have his sentence shortened. And then, of course, it adds that Donald Trump just commuted his federal prison sentence here. Some of the people who have advocated for Larry are Kanye West. I'm sorry, I said Kanye West. Kanye West, also Chance the Rapper, which you'll see in just a second. We'll get into a little bit more of that in the other video. Now, let's get into what happened when he was arrested here. Let's make sure. I'm sorry, here we go. 1973. February 26, 1973, William Pookie Young, a 19-year-old neighborhood drug dealer, was abducted and shot dead in an alley near 68th Street and Union Avenue in Inglewood, a neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. His killing was ordered by Hoover after his name was mentioned as one of 3 people accused of stealing drugs and money from the gang 6 days earlier. Andrew Howard was arrested on March 16, 1973, while Hoover went into hiding in Chicago. On September 21st, 1973, Hoover was driving a stolen truck and was asked to stop for a traffic violation. He tried to run away from the scene, but was arrested. The police also discovered that he was also wanted in William Young's murder. In October of 1973, Howard and Hoover were both indicted for murder, and in December were sentenced to the 150 to 200 years in prison. Hoover was sent to Stateville Correction Center in Crest Hill, Illinois. Now, his family members are speaking out. And again, for him to be fully pardoned, that means that the governor would have to drop the state charges or pardon those charges. Let's hear what his family has to say.
Larry Hoover is currently at the notorious Supermax prison in Colorado. His family hasn't been able to speak with him today to get his reaction to his commutation. Hoover still faces the remainder of a state prison sentence for murder, but his family is hoping for clemency from Governor Pritzker.
It's overwhelming. It's a long time coming, and we just want to hope it go all the way through.
The wife and son of Larry Hoover, after his 6 federal life sentences, were commuted by President Trump.
And he deserves redemption. He deserves a second chance at being a part of this community.
So that's his wife, Larry Hoover's wife, and that's his son.
He could be a benefit to this community if they want him to be a benefit to this community.
Hoover co-founded the Chicago Gangster Disciples, and while behind bars for a 1973 murder, federal prosecutors say he continued to run the gang's prolific multi-state drug operations.
If Larry Hoover said there was going to be a killing, there was a killing.
Ron Safer was the lead federal prosecutor who secured Hoover's 1997 conviction for running a criminal enterprise behind bars.
I believe in redemption, but there are some crimes that are so horrific that they deserve the punishment to the full extent of the law.
As years passed, Hoover's case drew increasing attention, including from artists like Kanye West and Chance the Rapper.
And I gotta remind y'all that he was a political prisoner.
He is being held because he is a symbol, not because he needs further incarceration or.
That's another part too. I wanted you to hear from Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper said he was also a political prisoner.
He hasn't been rehabilitated.
The president's commutation only applies to Hoover's federal sentence. He still faces state prison time for which he's eligible for parole. Governor J.B. Pritzker can also offer clemency.
Pause. Let's go back to J.B. Pritzker here. So let me tell you guys something, right? Because in a way, this pushes this back in the Democrats' corner. Because here's the thing. For one, I was very shocked that Trump chose to pardon his federal charges. I was very, very shocked about that. I think it should be applauded. You guys know how I feel about the criminal justice system. You know how I feel about policing. I think it should be applauded. I think this guy has done his time. He's 74 years old, just like I was, happy about Leonard Peltier, his sentence being commuted. I'm happy about, Larry Hoover's sentence being commuted. I think it's time. People have done their time, right? And they said he's been on good behavior. That being said, in order for Larry Hoover to walk free, J.B. Pritzker has to pardon the state charges. This could possibly be a political move by Donald Trump, because if J.B. Pritzker chooses not to pardon him, then he stays in prison. And what Trump can then say to help the Republican Party, which he would probably do this, what he would then say is, I commuted Larry Hoover's sentence, and all the Democrats had to do was drop the state charges so he could walk free, and the Democrats wouldn't even let him go. That's what he would do. So now it puts the ball back in the hands of the Democratic Party, because now this story is getting a lot of attention, by the way. Now that we know the federal charges have been commuted, if you want Larry Hoover to go free, it's really in the hands of J.B. Pritzker now. So if J.B. decides not to do it, that's a strike on the Democratic Party. Here's another thing to think about. It has been alleged that J.B. Pritzker could entertain a presidential run in 2028. This is something that could come back to bite him. Something to think about. If he doesn't do what people feel is the right thing and pardon him, this could come back to bite him in a 2028 presidential run. So in my mind, I'm thinking people are just like, oh, that's really great for Donald Trump to do that. But I'm looking at the bigger picture, and to me, it feels like this is a political move as well. Because who's the governor? Something to think about.
Can also offer clemency.
We know that Governor Preston believes in rehabilitation, redemption, and transformation, and he's done all of that.
A governor spokesperson declined to comment on Hoover's case, but said inmates seeking parole or clemency must petition the Illinois Prisoner Review Board, which makes parole decisions and issues recommendations to the governor regarding clemency. Larry Hoover is currently at the notorious Superman.
Okay. Well, we'll have to wait and see if he is pardoned by the state, if they go forward with that. We will have to wait and see. And until then, we really don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, that actually happened. And what's interesting is you would think that more people, especially those who supported who were asking for Larry Hoover to be released, you would think that they would be in support of this. But what's going to happen, and this is the problem with political parties, what's going to happen is that people who are against the Republican Party or against Donald Trump will find a way to criticize it, even though it's the right thing to do. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.